I'll wait one more minute before I kick us off. We will definitely be talking about office hours. That is on the agenda. Well, let's go ahead and get started. And there may be one or two people that join us, but we'll do some introductions and then we'll jump into the presentation. My name is Rachel Orr. I'm the director for MU Connect, and I'll have my team introduce themselves next.
Hi, my name is Sam, and I'm the Student Success Initiatives Coordinator with the MU Connect office.
And my name is Chris. I'm the Senior Program Coordinator, and you guessed it, the same office.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, we're going to pull up the PowerPoint, and I'm just going to give a brief introduction and then hand it off to Sam to talk through most of the content and do some demonstrations. If you want to go ahead to the next slide once you get there, Sam. Perfect. So just a brief overview. MU Connect is an online application focused on student success. It includes faculty, staff, students, helps with communication across all of those groups, as well as track student information and collaborate with other student support services. So it includes appointment scheduling, sharing and tracking student information, like I said, in terms of student notes that you may take after an appointment, feedback via early alert, as well as connecting with other support offices in the student support network. And then we do some data analysis as well. So Sam, do you want to take over?
Sure. So we just wanted to provide a brief overview of what we will be covering in this workshop. So we'll be talking about profile setup, appointment scheduling, and office hours. I know that was a question or a feature you wanted highlighted earlier. Also how to search for students, and then we'll cover the early alert cycle and what that looks like, as well as how to look for those tracking items in the system. Perfect. Can everyone see my MU Connect screen? Perfect. So this is the landing page that you will see once you sign in to MU Connect. And so this kind of gives a brief highlight of what services you're tied to, if you have any items that you are managing, if you have any upcoming appointments. I currently do not, so it is not, there's currently nothing listed. But what you will need to do, the most important feature, I would say, of the system is the hamburger button, where you navigate to pretty much anything. So on the top left-hand corner, this is the little hamburger button that we refer to. If you click on that, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, there is your name and your picture. So for the first part, we're going to talk about editing and setting up your profile. So what you'll need to do is click on your name. And then the first tab that we'll go to is actually edit profile. And so as you can see in this screen, you have your picture. You can change that if you want to change it from what is the default in the system. So you can upload your photo. And then you have your preferred login page. So this first section is all about your profile. So if instead of that home page, maybe you would like when you sign in to go to your appointments view, or maybe if you want to look for students, you can have it set up. So once you log in, you can go to the students page, and these are all pages that we will look over. So in case you decide to go that route, you can decide later what you would like for this setting. And then we also have a fairly new feature that is direct links. So what's important about these is that they I'll give you a link for students to schedule an appointment with you. So if you copy your URL to Clipboard, as you can see, we get this little message that it was copied. You can make a URL and put it in and link it in maybe a signature or things like that. So student clicks on it and takes them directly to schedule an appointment with you. So they don't have to log in or search for you in the system. It'll take them directly to your appointment scheduling page. There's also the option to link directly to your profile. So everyone does have a profile when a student searches for you. So that gives them a brief overview of who you are, any contact information you provide. And so that's what that link provides. And so the default is actually these are turned off. So you'll just want to make sure to turn those on if you do want to use those features. Then it will also list your contact information, your phone numbers. And these are populated directly from MyZoo and that information. But if you would like to change the phone number, you can also do that as well. And then we have this about section is that profile that I briefly mentioned earlier. So this would be your title. So what we have set up for your access in the back end would populate. So if you're a CAFNR academic advisor, that would show up here. But if there's another title that you would prefer, you can add that there and it will overwrite what we have in the back end. And then you can include your biography and general overview for students to see. So my biography is just kind of a little bit more about you, maybe where you're from, what your areas of interest are. And then the general overview is more about what you do in your role and then what students can expect when meeting with you. And so whenever we make changes, we just want to make sure to go down here and click on Save Changes before navigating to the next tab. So if I had made any changes, I would just click on the Save Changes button. And so at the top of the screen, there are 3 little tabs here. So we're going to go into Appointment Preferences. And so this is more about your office hours and appointment scheduling features. So this first box is office hour defaults. So this one is a scheduling deadline. So if you would like students to schedule with you by 4 p.m. the day before, so you have enough time maybe in the last hour of your day to get ready, you can do that to set it the day before office hours, and you can change this time. You can also set it the day of, and then even an hour before. So it's completely up to you and your workflow. But those are different options that you can set for the time that students can schedule with you. Then we also have the calendar sync section. And so this allows MU Connect to read in busy times from your Outlook calendar. So what you can do is you can email attachments for every appointment made, changed. So this includes if a student changes times or if they cancel the appointment altogether, you would get an email attachment and notification with that. And then a change to your office hours or group sessions. So maybe if you had to cancel your office hours for the day because you were sick, it would also send you an attachment that you have canceled your office hours for the day, or maybe you added office hours, that would also send you a notification there. And then in order to sync your calendar, you'll need to share your calendar with this O365 Starfish email address. And we actually have the directions on this click here link. And then once you have done that and shared your calendar, you would just go to this box and then click on Allow MU Connect to read your busy times. And then we have locations. So before you are able to set up any office hours, you'll need to add a location that students can meet with you. So for me, I have a Zoom version and I also have a test version. So this is for if you would like students to be able to meet maybe in your office or offer an online version, you can add as many locations as you'd like, but we typically see those 2 options of your Zoom link and then the the office in-person site. And for the Zoom, you are able to actually add your Zoom link into the instructions for the Zoom name. And then you can also add calendar managers. This is typically a process that is done in the back end. So we typically see that either you or someone in your office will request that we make you a calendar manager or someone else a calendar manager for you. And so we just process that request, and then we can assign that in the back end. But there's also a feature to manually add someone that can manage your calendar. And then again, if you made any changes, you would just click on Save Changes. And then the final one is notifications. So this first section just tells you about what your institution email. So that is the email that all of the notifications I would be receiving goes to. And then you can receive summary emails. So this is a digest of all of your appointment and tracking item activities. So if students scheduled an appointment with you, but also any tracking items that you're watching or connected to, it would also send you a summary of all that activity. So you can have it to don't send you summary emails, you have it daily or weekly. So again, it's completely up to your process and what you would prefer. Then we also have appointment notifications. So you can have planning reminders. So you can have an email for each appointment that is scheduled or a digest of all your appointments. So maybe the day before you'd like a digest of all the appointments. So you can have the day before setting or the day of. And then you can also have alert reminders. And so just kind of like you would set up in Outlook, you can have it send you a notification 15 minutes before an appointment that you have an appointment coming up and who it's with. And then you also have your tracking item updates. So you can have immediate notifications for every new item raised, item cleared, or item assigned to me. Typically, we see item assigned to me as the default because depending on how many items you are watching or have access to see, you can get a lot of emails very quickly through this setting. So we typically see item assigned to me as the standard. Again, just click on Save Changes. And so that was everything I had for the Edit Profile section. Does anyone have any questions before we move on?
The one really nice feature about the system Sam mentioned is the sync with Outlook. And that's just really helpful if you have meetings, maybe you schedule, team meetings in Outlook. MU Connect will allow you to pull those over so that if you do have a block of appointments, it kind of blocks out that time where you already have an appointment, or if something gets added to your Outlook schedule, it'll block that time so students can't sign up for it. So that can be really beneficial as a feature in MU Connect that I know is used quite a bit on campus.
Absolutely. Perfect. That is a great segue into the next feature that we will be highlighting. So that is the appointments tab. So again, I just went up to the hamburger button and then there is an appointments section. So just click on appointments. And so if you're new in the system, your default might look like this. So that's just a different view of your calendar. So you can have an agenda view that just kind of gives all of your appointments for the day, externally and internally, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But then you can also have 15-minute increments of your day, or you can look at your bi-week schedule. And so that's completely up to however you would prefer to look at your schedule. And so as Rachel mentioned, this Outlook feature, so I did select that MU Connect can read my busy times in Outlook. So as you can see, this is all from my Outlook. You'll have a little lock icon. And so if I had any office hours scheduled, students would not be able to schedule at this time. So it would block that availability so that you don't have students signing up for those busy times. And so the first option we're going to do is the office hours. If you would like to set up office hours. So there is some buttons in the top left-hand corner. And so this very first one is office hours. And if you just click on that, then this box populates. And so you'll just need a title. It defaults to office hours. And we typically see that staff keep that as office hours, but you can name it to however you'd like. And then you can have what days of the week you would like this office hour to occur on. So if you're meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, You can just have that occur weekly. You can also set it so it maybe just one day you would like to offer office hours. You can also set it to daily or once. So that is an option. And the only thing that can't be changed for office hours after they've been created is the days of the week that they occur. And so you can have a time. So if we did 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So just the time that you would like appointments to be available and when you would like to, when's the last time that you would like an appointment to be available. And then those locations that we set up in our edit profile section will appear here. And so before you're able to set up your office hours, you will need to select one of these. You can also select multiple, and the student is required to select one of those locations. So if you would like to offer both Zoom and in person, you can definitely click on both of those. But maybe you would just like in-person options, that is totally fine as well. And you just click on that option. And so then for here, the how long feature, so it defaults to 15 minutes and 15 minutes. However, the way that we set it up in the back end is that these appointments have various reasons that the department has agreed on for a duration. So if you're an advisor, maybe an advising meeting is set up by your advising unit for a certain duration that overrides this 15-minute minimum and maximum. So maybe it's 30 minutes for an advising appointment. The meeting would be 30 minutes and not 15 minutes. So we just kind of wanted to highlight that you don't really need to make any changes to this how long feature because that is already set up in the back end for what students schedule with you for. And then these appointment types. So if you're an instructor, you would have an instructor appointment type here. And so those are all the reasons that a student could meet with you. So a student would select that they're here for you as an instructor, and then there's various reasons housed within this appointment type. So you would just select the one that makes the most sense for you. So if you're an advisor, maybe you're doing academic advising, you would like that to be offered during this time. And so you can select as many as are applicable, but just for the purpose of this, I'm going to select the test appointment type. And then this instructions box is for if there's anything that you would like students to bring to these meetings. So maybe you'd like them to bring forms, or if you would like them to fill out a survey or anything like that, you can put that in here. But then you can also give directions maybe to your office. So if you kind of have a tricky location, you can put directions of, just please knock on my door. It's go in this hall, that kind of thing. And so you can do that here. And then there is this tab here that has the start and end date. And this one is really important because as you can see, the end date defaults to never. So we have seen instructors that come back 3 years later and their office hours are still going. So what we always recommend is having an end date to on a specific date. And so that way it makes it a little bit more customizable of when is the last date that you would like to offer your office hours. And so maybe that is the end of term. So you can just come up here and select the month and date. So I'll do May 19th. And so on May 19th, these office hours would stop. And so then that allows you to, if next semester you have a different schedule, then you can go in and make a new set of office hours without having to worry about adjusting your schedule or canceling appointments if you need to change your office hours. And then once you're done with that, you just click on submit, and then it would populate in your calendar. So just because this is a test, I'm not going to, but if you would like to click on submit, then that will be finalized in your, and it would show up in your calendar. And then we have if you would like to just schedule an appointment with a specific student, you can go ahead and click on this appointment feature. So maybe it was outside of my office hours. What you could do is you'll type in the student ID number. So I will use Truman the Tiger. So I would just search for ID, but you can also use his name or any of that information. So name or ID number. And so you would just need to put in the time that it starts and then the time that the appointment ended. Then the where is both of those locations that we set up in the very beginning. And then these are all of the reasons that you are tied to. So as you saw in the office hour creation, we had all of those appointment types. These are the reasons underneath those appointment types. So for example, business team has an individual meeting reason, an interview, or a team program. So a student could select any of those reasons. So that's kind of the appointment type is like the broad topic for the meeting, but then these reasons are the individual topics that will be covered. So I'm just going to do a test appointment. And then if they talked about a course or it's tied to a specific course, you can, the students' current classes will be listed under this course. So Truman is enrolled in the MU Connect demo course, and so he could select that it is with a course. And so this detailed description, when a student schedules with you, they have the option to enter in why they would like to be meeting with you. It is not a requirement, but students, we still see students add that they have questions, or I'd like to talk about changing my course schedule and things like that. So that would be listed in this detailed description. And then also if you are recording a meeting after the fact, what you can do is also select this outcomes tab at the top. And so this is maybe the student was a couple minutes late. You could say that the student was here maybe like 5 minutes late in the actual end time, or maybe that the student missed an appointment. And then you can put the comments of what you talked about during your meeting directly in here. And so this comment will be housed in the students folder under this meeting. So if you go back later, you can open this appointment and see what you all talked about as a refresher. There is also the option, you can send a copy of the note to a student. So maybe you'd like to send them a refresher of what you all talked about as a reminder. That is an option as well if you click on send a copy of note to a student. And then you just click on submit, and then that would also populate on this screen.
Sam, can I say a few things about the notes while you are there?
Of course.
Yeah, so the notes section is something that can be seen by other support staff on campus, depending on their role. All of the access within MU Connect is role-based, so that people can only see what they need to see based on their role on campus and how they support students. That information that you put in notes is also part of the student record. So we do have some kind of best practices as it relates to what you would include in there and what not to include in that notes section as part of the student record. If the student ever asked for those records or some sort of legal action, they can request to see those records as part of their university record, just as a kind of FYI, so you know where those notes can be seen and how they're used, I guess, on campus.
Absolutely. And is there any questions before we move on to the next section? Or Rachel or Chris, if there's anything I haven't touched on.
Doing good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go up here to the hamburger button. And I'm actually going to switch screens because I am not tied to a course, but Chris graciously let me borrow his profile for the day. But what we're going to do is go to this hamburger button in the top left, and then go to your students tab. And I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is what we get when we click on the students tab. So you'll see we have those tabs at the top. My Students, tracking. The intake is currently live, and that is for students to take it's called the pre-advising questionnaire. And so for Winter Welcome, we currently have this enabled, so students are still able to take that. We also have a zoom in function, attendance, and progress surveys. So what we wanted to highlight was the My Students tab. So what you can do in this tab, it'll show you all of your connections to your students. So what I used for the demo was under your connections, you have these different roles. And then if you're an instructor, you also have these courses listed. So for the purpose of today, we did use the MU Connect demo. And so this is a Canvas site that we set up with our sample students. So you might see some friendly faces like Sean Hunter. We have Corey Matthews. We also have Truman the Tiger here. And so this allows you to kind of see your class list. If you are an advisor, you'll have an academic advisor role. And once you click on that, it'll show you a list of all your advisees. And so what this screen is great for is you can also add filters. So there is a button right here called Add Filters. And we do have a workshop that we did last semester that we have recorded and put up on our website about how to filter by all of these attributes. So I'm just going to touch upon just kind of an overview of these filters. So the important ones to highlight are that you can actually filter by tracking items. And so these are any flag, kudo, to do, or referral that you have access to see. And so you would just click on students with a tracking item. Another popular one we see is by attributes. So depending on your role in the system, you will have access to see student attributes. And so what you would do is click on Add Attribute, and then you can filter by things like if you'd like to see all of the freshman students and pull a list of those, you would just go in and select the attribute that you would like to filter by. In this case, there's a specific value, but maybe we have an athlete attribute that would just be assigned to student. And so only athletes would have that specific value. So then we could click on submit, and then depending on the role and connection you're looking at, would pull all of those students that fit that criteria. This is also one of the options to raise a referral or a kudo or to do or a flag. And so what you can do is you can go here and so if we wanted to raise a kudo for Sean, on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see these little boxes. So you can select an individual student or you can select all students. And so however many students you have listed under this connection, it does mean all students and not just that page. So if you had about 250, it would be all 250 students for this selection. But if we just wanted to raise a kudo for Sean, we would just click on his name on that box. And then you have all of the different options here to raise a flag, raise a referral, or send a message or add a note. So maybe you had an email conversation with the student and you think it would be helpful to put in their notes. You can add a note to their profile. This is just one of 3 ways that we recommend raising a tracking item in the system. And speaking of tracking items, we also have the tracking tab. And so here would pull up a list of all of the students, again, with that connection. So in our demo course, that has a tracking item. So as you can see, Truman has a test attribute flag, transfer student engagement that was raised. So you could see all of those connections there and would be able to see an outreach to maybe Truman or clear the flag as well. So if we wanted to say clear the service learning referral, or let's do the transfer engagement, you could just click on the box next to Truman's name and click on resolve. We don't have that. So you would get a box that would say that you like, what is the reason for why you are clearing this flag? So we have options as completed, partially completed, no response from student. So maybe you've performed a couple of different outreaches for the student. You can say that you just did not receive a response for the student. We also have the completed resolution, and that means that you all had a conversation about next steps. And so it's based on your department's process as to how many outreaches and when you clear those flags. And we'll talk a little bit more about that cycle a bit later. But we do have this as an option to look at, especially for advisors, if they're looking for in danger of failing, you would be able to go up to your filters and search for that specific flag. So anyone with maybe an attendance concern flag, you'd be able to look and search for all students and based on your connection. So an academic advisor could see all of their advisees that had that attendance concern flag. And we also have another webinar too on our website for the Zoom in and progress survey functions. And so those go a little bit more in depth about how to raise a flag in the system. So the Zoom in function actually pulls in grades from Canvas, which is a super neat feature. And so you can filter by that. And so that is especially helpful for large classes. And so you would be able to raise flags from this tab and also the progress surveys when those are launched at 4 and 8 weeks. I think that is everything. Rachel, Chris, am I missing anything?
I don't think so. Are there any questions about anything Sam talked about before we go on to the next section? Or anything you want us to go more in depth with? Okay, we can move on to the next section. I believe we're going to talk a little bit about early alert and give you kind of some high level overview of the process. We have some other upcoming workshops that really go in depth into the early alert process. But to give you kind of a broad picture, early alert is just a way of recording student behaviors that contribute to things like retention and graduation rates. It offers an opportunity for instructors to give praise to students or kudos, can talk with students maybe if there's a concern, something like a flag. And then it also, what the other benefit of early alert is, allows other folks supporting the student to see what may be going on in their classes. So where one instructor may be having an issue or give kudos to a student, another's course that the student is in, maybe there's a concern, and that advisor can see the whole, an advisor or other student support staff can kind of see the whole picture about what's going on with the student. And that helps support the student in kind of a holistic way, but also connect the student with different resources based on the issues from a centralized place. And so this is, we implemented this tier system in the fall. And so the tiers indicate kind of the level of concern for our flags. So these are the, if you have a concern about a student, the tier system is how we kind of identify the different levels of urgency related to the flags. So that first tier is really informational. Anytime a flag is raised, the student gets an email saying with some resources or what their next steps might be. And so the 3 flags that are included in that tier system in tier 1 is the attendance concern, the missing assignment, and the participation concern. These are, like I said, informational to be used in conversation with the student, or there's not an expectation that folks will reach out to the student based on those. But they can inform conversations, obviously, like I said, and be able to see patterns across different courses for the student. These flags are cleared at the beginning of each month, just to clear them out, since we know nobody is intentionally doing outreach. We clear those out once a month so that they don't kind of accumulate over time. Level 2 is we call student at risk. This includes low exam score and poor class performance. These flags are specifically, outreach occurs specifically through athletics, trio, case, and the learning center. And they do outreach as soon as they can, hopefully or ideally within a week, providing additional resources or offering to meet with the student as it relates to that low exam score or class performance. Then the third tier we consider urgent, and that includes in danger of being dropped, in danger of failing, and the student flagged 6 times academic. I will say this, when the student flagged 6 times flag is raised, there's not an email that goes to the student with that one, but there is for all of the other flags listed here. These flags are addressed typically by academic advisors. In the academic units, ideally within 3 to 4 days. That definitely varies depending on the time of the semester, but they indicate that there's an urgent intervention or there's definitely something to be concerned about that's happening with the student as it relates to their progress in the course. And Sam's going to kind of walk through the whole cycle, I believe, next. In the short version, like I said, we have another workshop coming up that goes more in depth, but Sam will walk you through the highlights.
Absolutely. So we broke it down into 5 steps of the early alert cycle. So the first, it starts out with that a student is exhibiting a behavior that is impacting their success in a course. So as we mentioned, we have the attendance concern. Maybe they didn't get as great of a grade as we had hoped on the first exam. So those are all kind of those behaviors that we're talking about. And so based on those behaviors that the instructor notices, they raise an early alert in the system. So all of those early alerts include the flags that we talked about in the last screen. We also have referrals to the tutoring and writing centers. And then we also have kudos for students that you have noticed are doing a great job or maybe have improved and maybe had a failing score on exam 1, but brought up their grade significantly, and just praising those behaviors that you're noticing are contributing to their success. We also have the student then receives an email that alert has been raised. So for all of the items that can be raised, there is an equal email that has been sent, except for the student flag 6 times, as Rachel mentioned. And then based on the flag, outreach occurs. So that is where that tier system comes in. So based on that concern, it sparks a outreach process. And then an alert is cleared and the instructor is notified. So when an individual clears a flag, there is the option to close the loop with the instructor or the person that raised it. And so that is also encouraged to help keep you in the loop of why this flag is being cleared.
Rachel, you're on mute.
Bummer. Do you have any questions or anything we can go more in depth as it relates to MU Connect? Burning questions you may have that have been bugging you about MU Connect that you've seen? Great, that is a perfect segue, Angela. So if you do have questions, you can reach us at MU Connect support, all one word, at missouri.edu. And one of the 3 of us, most likely Sam, will respond to that inquiry. But we're all in there monitoring as questions come in from folks. You can also check out our website, muconnect.missouri.edu, and there's lots of resources related to early alert, as well as other features of MU Connect, some how-to guides, some videos, as we mentioned along the way, as well as if you wanted to see what emails students are receiving based on the flag that's raised, you can also, those emails are also out there for you to see. Thanks, Sam, for putting those on there.
I may jump in with one other quick question. So I've been here, I mean, this is my 9th year, but this is the first semester I've ever taught a full undergrad class.
Okay.
I've only ever taught one cross-leveled. So, and now I'm the BGS for, I mean, the ID, what am I? The program director for BGS and IDS. So I've got to get up to speed fast, right? But as I hear and listen to some of this, I mean, and I pulled this up, and for example, all of my MPA students are listed in there. So it makes me think, and believe me, I mean, the things that have come up in the last few years could have used some writing down. You know what I mean? I mean, because they were serious, you know what I mean? They were definitely outside the bounds of what and to be clear, I'm a K-12 education policy person. Okay. So it's not like I don't know things can happen. I've been well trained at ELPA, and, you know, I'm over at the Truman School. But I mean, can I use this for my MPA students? Can I be doing that? I know that it's not the focus of MU really at all, and the work that you're doing necessarily, but I'm curious, you know, what is the conversation about how we can use it for everyone? You know what I mean? So what are your thoughts? I'm just curious.
We do have I can't remember off the top of my head. We do have several graduate level departments that are using MU Connect for appointments and note taking and things like that. I know in the business school, the MBA program uses it quite a bit. And I believe public health is another one that uses it quite a bit. So it's
Yeah.
kind of spreading into the graduate level more and more. That's not, we started at the undergraduate level just because of the focus on student retention and student support, but it has kind of branched out as the system has existed longer and longer. For
Yeah, that
exactly
is
the
helpful. And
reason-
I'm
yeah,
not
for exactly the
surprised.
reason you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it's starting in the professional schools too. I just think that they have, because remember, I mean, I've been here long enough to have been a standalone professional school and then be sucked into A&S, right? And so I feel the difference, right? And I'm starting to feel like I'm the only one paying attention in ways that I'm used to be surrounded by, like the business school, like the way health professions does things. And so I'm like, I would like, it would just be really nice, is my point, is maybe to start using this in a very pointed way. Because the other thing is, I suspect over time, kind of looking at you know, the trends in mental health, really for all students, I kind of wonder if we're not going to be moving this way for everybody soon enough. We're all triage right now. So, you know, but yeah, actually it's really helpful. I think the thing that I took the most, I got a whole bunch out of it, but when I saw that my MPA students were in here, it was like, oh, this could really be helpful, you
And if-
know? Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about how that role is set up or how that connection is set up, we can definitely,
Yeah.
have a one-on-one meeting and kind of walk
Sure.
you through that if you need some more information. You did touch on mental health, and that's one of the areas that I think is folks struggle with as it relates to notes, because there are some HIPAA related concerns that come up when we talk about some specific diagnoses related to mental health. And so we do encourage kind of general terms about student concerns. Just again, it is part of their record, and there's more than you that can see what's written in there. So we do
Right.
need to be a little careful about the language that we use in those notes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some really serious issues with some students. I mean, I've never had a school year like I did last year, you know, and I wish that there had been a place to put some things, you know. But I mean, so for example, I mean, the students have been open about this, but I had 4 of the 6 Afghanistan students in class, you know, and they're trying to evacuate their families. I mean, like, it was in my collaborative governance class, their coalition government had fallen. Okay. I mean, you know, it was like related to the classroom and horrible, you know what I mean? It was awful, you know, but when you have like the Mary Stegmeyers of the world, you know, there was a lot of other support going on, but there was no unifying place for information that I think any of us were using, which is just something I will observe and share with you. But, you know, I mean, and, you know, we had a lot of high level visibility around it, and, you know, fundraising and stuff. And so I don't know. It's just something that I think the more I think about MU Connect, the more excited I am about what it can do for us. So anyway, thanks for listening. I know that was like long-winded and sort of not, I went policy level, folks. I can't help it. I It's just me, you guys. It's the 30,000-foot policy person. But this is actually very helpful. And the MPA program director, the MBA program director is an MPA grad. So he and I stay in touch. So I will absolutely make sure to reach out to him after this.
Wonderful.
So,
Yeah.
Well, anyway, everybody, thank you. I just want to say I appreciate this very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And thanks to the others as well. Again, if you have questions, you can reach out to us at muconnectsupport@missouri.edu and check out our website. And with that, we'll see you all later. Have a good rest of your day.